Hello.
Hello.
And welcome back to this presentation here at the Hudson Senior Center. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Arthur Bergeron. I'm an attorney. I'm at Myrick O'Connell. There are 70 of us about at Myrick O'Connell, about 40 in Worcester and 20 in Westboro, where I am most of the time, and 10 in Boston. We do a whole bunch of things because there were 20 of us. Everybody's got a specialty, so I do nothing but this. I do nothing but elder law. And what I try to do, I've been doing presentations here in Hudson for maybe 15 years, a long time. I'm actually growing old with some of the people here in the audience. And what I try to do is in the spring have kind of some general presentations on legal issues, and in the fall do some other things. So this fall, we did two presentations. We're doing two presentations. This is the second, involving my friends Frank and Mary. And in the previous presentations, we talked about Frank and Mary at two different ages. At age 70, when they were pretty much just retiring and still in good health and very active in the community. And then at 80, when they were having some other issues. Because I really wanted to talk to you about the fact that obviously your issues change as you age. That's the thing about being seniors, right? Is things change as you age. And today, though, we're going to talk about just Mary at 90. The reason why we're talking about just Mary at 90 is that Frank has died. Remember when I did the presentation last time, we mentioned that Frank at 70 had a life expectancy of 14 years, and at 80 had a life expectancy of 9 years, which means he just ran out of time, and he died before 90. And Mary had a life expectancy of a little over 16 years at 70, and then almost 10 years at 80, and she is still alive, and her life expectancy actually now is 4.85 years. So she's still alive, but she's not doing great, you know. And so I wanted to talk about Mary at two different times in her life. One, when she's 90, but not and doing okay, but not doing great, right? And then I'm going to talk about Mary during a time when she is really beginning to decline. Not declining as in she's going to die tomorrow, but declining as in death is like, I don't want to say it's the distant horizon, but it's definitely on the horizon, right? So we're going to kind of think about what the issues are for Mary in both of those times. So I've got these one great panelists to help me go through this today, because really a lot of these issues are really, there are some legal pieces to this, but there were a whole lot of other non-legal pieces to this, and I wanted you to kind of get a sense of those. So I've got Christine Alessandro, who's been here before, who's the Executive Director at APAT Elder Services, the entity that actually coordinates state and federal dollars to the 14 different communities, including this one. I've got Doug Peck from Seniors Helping Seniors, who has been here before, because he actually runs an agency that helps seniors, but their employees are all seniors. So that's why when we were talking about Frank and Mary at 70, we were talking about actually having Frank and Mary maybe working for Doug Peck and helping seniors. But at this point, obviously there's some other issues regarding those seniors. I get Sarah Bork, who is what we used to call a geriatric care manager. They are now often referred to as aging life care professionals, but they're because they didn't want to say geriatric because they found out nobody had hired them. It's like you're not going to the senior center because you're not old enough, you know. So Sarah's going to talk about Mary at both of these ages in terms of how Mary should be looking at things and what kinds of programs and what kinds of alternatives she might have. And then I have Ruth Remington, whom I have known for many years, who actually runs the nursing program. No. She teaches in the nursing program at Framingham State, has for years, very, very close friend of Dr. Michelle Ricard, who has been here before, and often refers to Ruth as her right-hand person, who's going to be talking about how she would be talking to Mary during that last period of her life. So we're all going to have something to participate in. So let me talk to you about Mary. Mary at this point in her life, she's 90. Her assets are the same that they were during the previous presentation because they didn't spend them down because they weren't really needing to spend a lot of money, right? So she's now got Frank's Social Security check, $2,000 a month. She still owns her house worth $300,000. They still have savings of $200,000, and she now has Frank's IRA of $300,000. So they have total assets of about $800,000, and her goals are simple. She wants to live in her house until she dies. She wants to be buried in the backyard. In the meantime, she wants to not run out of money, very important. Whatever money she has left, she wants to leave to her kids. She wants to sleep well at night. Does this sound kind of familiar? You know, isn't that kind of like what your life goals turn into? And she knows. I mean, she's 90, and she's not a dope, and she's not closing her eyes to the fact that she's 90. So she knows her life is going to really have two pieces to it. And she doesn't know how long either piece is going to be, but one piece is going to be the piece when she is kind of, you know, having problems but okay, and then the period where she is in decline. And she kind of knows that she's in decline, and we're going to kind of talk about those. Now, and her goals at this point is just to be as healthy as she can be during as much of that time as possible, to be prepared to be sick and to be ready to die. And that's one of the things I've always said I like about doing kind of work I do, is that people that I deal with know they're going to die, right? Young people don't, right? So I'm going to refer a lot to this book, to a chapters from this book by a woman named Katie Butler called The Art of Dying Well. And in my last slide, I'm going to give you the reference to that book, and I'm telling you, you ought to buy this book. It's just really good. So she really talks about, in each chapter, how to think about your life if you have got certain kind of physical characteristics. And this is chapter 3, called Adaptation, like adapting to the fact that you're not in great shape. And so the characteristics of adaptation is that you know you're not going to get better. You know, you've had some problems, but they're not going to reverse. You're kind of living with your problems, right? You're not declining, but you're going to have these problems for a while. People who you've helped in the past are now helping you more. You're using canes, walker, you know, you're using hearing aids. You need more help with just chores around the house. You know, you really, just the housework and groceries and taxes and, God forbid, taxes, you know. Even just making dinner, it's a hassle. Your health conditions are no longer annoyances, right? They're just kind of, they've changed the way that you're living as a result of all this. And you sometimes worry that you're exhausting your family members. Does this sound familiar? Like you're talking to your daughter or your son and you're saying, God, I mean, how can I be doing this to them, right? And in the back of their minds, to some extent, they may be saying that too. They may be saying, God, I'm glad to help Mom, but boy, this is a lot of stuff. So it's in that situation that you may want to be kind of looking at some other ways to figure out how you may want to be changing the way in which you're living. And I wanted to have Sarah talk about that a little bit, Sarah Burke, from her perspective as what geriatric care managers, what aging life care professionals do, is they are basically your private case manager, and they just kind of help you figure out all this stuff. Know what the programs are that are available, know what your options are. But the point of them is that they've got no skin in the game. They're not selling you anything. They're not selling you any programs. They're just helping you figure it out. So that it kind of gives you an objective set of eyes, even as opposed to your kids, right? Who, you know, are sometimes maybe talking to you because they're being polite, but they really know that you need to be doing some other stuff. So anyway, I'd like to have Sarah talk for a few minutes, and then Christine Alessandro is going to talk about the major program that the folks at PayPath administer and deal with, the frail elderly. So, Sarah. How about here? And I'm going to take your seat. Look, we're very well coordinated.
So, Mary is now 90. She and Frank had this great plan. They were going to live together in the house until they died. They would be buried in the backyard.
Could you speak a little louder?
Yes, I can try.
Okay.
So, but Mary may feel differently now that she's living alone in the big house that she and Frank lived in. So, as a care manager, I would be talking to Mary about, is this still working for you? Do you still want to live in this house and be buried in the backyard, or is it feeling too lonely? And then I'd help her look at alternatives, maybe an assisted living, maybe an independent living where she'd be closer to other people. If she still says, yep, I'm following my plan, I'm going to be living at home, I want to be buried in the backyard, I'm not moving anywhere, then we'd be talking about, well, what's hard? And then I hear from Mary, well, Frank was doing all the driving. I'm not driving anymore. So I might help Mary find someone that can get her to appointments that can get her to the grocery store. And Mary's really tired of cooking. It was bad enough when Frank was there and there were two of them, and now that's just one. Mary's not going to be eating well because she just doesn't feel like making meals anymore. So I might help her find ways to get meals to come in. It might be, going to Bay Path and getting Meals on Wheels. It might be hiring a chef that comes in and cooks meals for a week and freezes them. There are a lot of different out-of-the-box ways to solutions to these things. Housekeeping. The laundry's downstairs and Mary just can't do it anymore. Again, help her find someone that can come in once a week and help her with laundry, housework, things like that. The other thing that I might do with Mary is I would be asking to go to medical appointments. When you get to 90, usually your problem list is more than just one or two things. There are a lot of things that are interactive. I would be able to go with her and communicate with all of her doctors, all of her history, all of her medications, so that they're looking at and remembering that Mary is more than just a heart or more than just her kidneys, that there are other things that may be having an impact. I would also be talking to Mary about making sure that she has an identified person, a healthcare proxy, who will be her voice if she can't express her wishes anymore. And I would be encouraging her to start having some of those more difficult conversations about what she wants the next few years to look like. Does she want to keep pursuing every medical test and treatment that's out there, or would she rather just be able to sort of enjoy herself and live comfortably? So I'd be encouraging her to, whoever she has identified as a healthcare proxy, to have that conversation with the healthcare proxy. So they know what Mary's wishes are. They know what's important to Mary, and they can advocate for those things. So that's what I'd be doing at 90 with Mary. So we'll let Christine.
Christine is next, but I just want to mention one thing. What Mary needs to remember at 90, right, is that she's never going to run out of money. Constantly, clients are like telling me, because they don't want to run out of money. But if you're 90 and you've got the assets she has, she is not going to run out of money. So the notion of spending some of that money on some of the things that can keep her at home safe is not an unreasonable thing. Maybe she can qualify for some of the programs that Christine has to offer through BayPal. But if she doesn't, that's okay. She's not going to run out of money. That's all.
So I'm Christine Alessandro. I'm from Bay Path Elder Services, and it's wonderful to see you all again. The weather has turned a bit nippy, and I live on a lake, and the lake is icing over. So we know it's winter. So Mary wants to stay at home, and I'm really happy Mary wants to stay at home, because that's where we should stay, at home, with our loved ones, with our pets, with our Afghans, just where we want to be. And Mary has a daughter, Mary Jr., but Mary Jr. lives in California, and she has a high-pressure job where she travels around the world for work. So she can't come and take care of her mother. And her sons, Peter and Paul, live in the Midwest, and they are very busy with their wives and their children and can't come either. And usually it's the daughter that does caregiving. So what is Mary going to do? Well, Mary may call Bay Path for help and say, I really need some assistance in the home. The home care program at Bay Path, which you can get anywhere in Massachusetts, there are 3 parts to the home care program. It's called Home Care Basic, Enhanced Community Options Program, and Choices. There are no income limits for the home care program. It used to be there was an income cap, and if you were over that cap, you could not get services through us. They took that cap away.
When?
Last year.
Oh, wow.
No matter what your income is, because we don't look at assets, we only look at income, you can get home care services. Your copay may be a bit higher, but you will get services at a reduced rate, which we negotiate with our vendors, and you get case management. So that's very important to remember. So with our home care basic program, you usually get about 2 to 3 hours of homemaking a week, maybe Meals on Wheels. So you get help with homemaking, you get help with laundry because you can't get down the stairs. But as you get frailer, as Mary gets frailer, we will look to increase her services by putting her in programs that provide more services. The Enhanced Community Options Program provides about 6 to 8 hours of service a week, and that's for individuals who are not on Mass Health. The Choices Program is for people who are on Mass Health, and technically in that program we can provide care 24/7.
Wow.
Usually it's very difficult to do that because vendor agencies or provider agencies don't have the resources, the personnel. There's a shortage of workers. But theoretically we could do it, and we work with you. You also have to have the family member as a backup. So increase your services, we'll coordinate with palliative care and hospice care. If hospice is in there and they're providing a home health aid, we won't provide the home health aid, we'll provide the homemaking, we'll provide the laundry. So we'll coordinate services. And again, when you get to that level of care, you want a backup plan, whether it be your daughter, your son, your next door neighbor, a niece, granddaughter, whoever it is. Now there's a special program called the Frail Elder Waiver for people who are on Mass Health. If you want to go in a nursing home and you are going to private pay for a nursing home, they will open the doors wide and you could be as healthy as an ox and you can live in that nursing home if you are private paying. But if you are on Mass Health, you must meet certain criteria for being in a nursing home or staying in the community on a waiver. What is a waiver? A waiver is something that the state agrees to with the federal government, because Medicaid is part state, part federal, that allows the state to waive certain criteria so we can provide services to more people. So there's this program called the Frail Elder Waiver. You have to be Mass Health standard, you have to be over the age of 60, and meet the state home care criteria. You need to be eligible for the waiver program, so you need to be fairly frail. You need to need a high level of services. Basically, your service plan will be at least $600 to $700 per month. So that would equal about 8 hours of care a week. You must receive a waiver program service such as homemaking or personal care, and you must be at imminent risk for nursing facility placement and meet one of the following criteria. Now this is where it gets technical, but I put it in to show you that it's not a walk in the park to be eligible for a nursing home unless you want a private pay, and that's what Arthur has been trying to help everyone avoid. You don't want to give that money to a nursing home necessarily. Remember, there's a 5-year look back. There's a way to protect assets. So to be eligible under the Frail Elder Waiver, you need to seek nursing facility placement within the last 6 months. Within the last 30 days, experience a serious medical event. Perhaps you had a broken hip. You were discharged from a nursing facility in the last 30 days, or at risk of nursing facility admission due to a lack of formal or informal supports. Now, who determines this eligibility? A nurse from BayPath will come out to do that assessment of you. That's the only person who can do it, because we contract with Mass Health to do these screenings for them. In addition to all of this, and it's complicated, you need 24-hour supervision because of complex medical conditions, experience a significant cognitive decline, you're unable to manage or administer your medications, frequent episodes of incontinence, and daily supervision and assistance with multiple activities of daily living. You can stay home with all of these issues because you can go on the Frail Elder Waiver if you are on Mass Health and you are age 60 or over. Yes, it is complex, but often when you're to the point of, my gosh, what am I going to do? I have so much going on with my body. You're in this state, you can still stay at home. So that's when you would need, or hopefully before, call BayPath so we get a plan of care ready to go with you as you age in place. So the services, this is a list of services we provide: homemaking, personal care, laundry, Meals on Wheels, etc., 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 etc. It's vast. It is really a vast program. So I'm going to turn this back to Arthur the non-technical part of the program.
So I just wanted to mention, first of all, as I mentioned, if you're married and you're in private pay doing a lot of this stuff, you can do it fine, you know, unless you need a tremendous amount of care at home. I mean, if you're on 24/7 care at home, 24 paying privately, that's going to cost you probably about $150,000 to $200,000 a year. But Mary could do that actually for several years because of her assets, right? Also, Christine just talked to you about the frail elder waiver, and one of the things that she just mentioned, I'm just going to do a couple of things. One of the things that she mentioned was that there is an asset criterion for qualifying for the frail elder waiver. What I want to emphasize is that Mary, even with this, could fairly quickly meet that asset criterion. The criterion is that you have to show that you have less than $2,000 in countable assets, which is a lot less than she's got. But one of the programs, one of the things that is still available to Mary, and I'm mentioning this now, although this regulation may be changing, it has been available here in Massachusetts and not in many other states, is that she could transfer her funds to something called a D4C pooled trust. I've mentioned this program before to you here. She could transfer the funds to a D4C pooled trust. Those funds are going to be available for the rest of her life to supplement any care that she needs. But for mass health purposes, once she's transferred those funds to the D4C pooled trust, they are not counted as her assets. So in terms of the frail elder waiver, for folks who need a lot of care at home, they'll often restructure their assets that way so they can get the frail elder waiver and get some home care paid for by Mass Health, often as much as 40 or 50 hours a week, sometimes more, but typically that amount. And then use the rest of the money to take care of the rest of the care, so that if she needs more than 40 or 50 hours a week, there'll be enough money so that she can live in her house really for the rest of her life. Her house, for purposes of Mass Health, is not a countable asset. Is not a countable asset. Mass Health would put a lien on that house to make sure that Mass Health got reimbursed for what Mass Health paid after Mary's death. But of course, at that point, A, she's dead, so she's not concerned about it. And B, as far as the effect on the value of the house, the reimbursement is solely for what Mass Health paid, and they're paying typically, folks, at the Mass Health rate, which tends to be lower than private pay. So it ends up actually saving money. I'm just going to mention one other thing. To the extent that Mary was concerned about not done anything before, she didn't do anything before Frank died, and now she's kind of stuck with these assets, and she wants to protect them absolutely in case in the event that she needs nursing home care. She still has the ability to transfer those assets out to some third party, except she's got this problem of having to wait 5 years until those assets are going to be safe, non-countable, and non-lienable. I'm not going to go through that because I want to get to Mary at an older age. So now we're going to talk about Mary at a period of her life that people don't want to think about, which is that point where you are forced to have some awareness of your mortality. Mary is becoming aware that she really is going to die. Not, I'm going to die because we're all human, but I'm going to die because I can kind of see it. I think the metaphor that I use is that, so you're on that boat, but you can see the shore. Now, you're not about to get to the dock, but you can see the shore, right? And so you're starting to think about these things. And this was really what was in chapter 5 of Katie Butler's book. When she says, you kind of know when you're at this point when the doctor is saying you've got a serious illness or a terminal illness, or the magic word stage 4. Everybody knows it's stage 4, right? You hear those words, you go, stage 4. You've got a vital organ, something's going bad, going south on you. Whether that's a kidney, your brain, your memory's bad, lung, it could be any number of things, your heart, but you know things are kind of not going well. You're in the early stages of an incurable disease, Lou Gehrig's disease, for example. Doctors are just kind of not wanting to give you a prognosis, right? Or are saying, it's poor, right? Or it's dire. Because of course they don't know, but they just know that you're kind of, you can see the shore, right? Or the doctors are using words like chronic, progressive. You know, these are all little triggers, because a lot of times doctors are couching these words because they don't want to tell you, right? They don't want to tell you. Or they're saying, what are your goals of care? As opposed to, how are we going to cure you? Because they're now saying, you may really be wanting to think more about care than about cure. And that's the reason why we asked Ruth Remington, who is Dr. Ricard's stand-in today, because they're like, twins joined at the hip. So to talk about how you would look at that period, and how a doctor or a nurse would talk to you about that period of your life. And she even brought her own pictures.
I like pictures.
So now I'm going to do my training. See, that's forward. Oh, now those are your pictures. Look at that. Maybe they're not. I'm going to wait till it goes on. Thank God I don't have to do this.
Technology is not my friend.
Does Dr. Ricard still live in Berlin?
It's still in Berlin.
Okay.
It's still in Berlin. Actually, she and Ruth are doing this wonderful program, which they're trying to get adopted by the Metro West Healthcare Foundation, called Stepping On. It's a program specifically designed to help you not fall, to do a whole set of things with, talking to an optometrist and a whole bunch of other folks around not falling. These two are like, they'll never retire, right? They're just totally into this. So here I go. This is my question. Whoops. That's forward. That's back. That's all I know.
That's all I'm gonna do. So, Mary's got an advantage here. She knows she's got a year left now. The life expectancy for a 90-year-old is 5 years. Some are more, some are less. Mary's got a year. So, you met Mary at 70. You met her at 80. Here she is at 90. In that last year, probably a little more stooped, not hearing so well, having trouble seeing. Her energy and endurance is shot. Small tasks take a lot out of her. Skip that one. What's really important, and you're probably going to hear it a couple times, is have that conversation. Knowing that you're seeing the shore. What do you want done for your care? Technology today isn't my friend, but it has changed the way we live and we die. And what's available now, in a couple of years, is going to be different. So it's important that somebody knows what you want. You know what you want, decide what you want, make sure your family members or somebody close to you knows what your wishes are, and your physician or your nurse practitioner. Okay, this is Mary with no clothes on, which is how we usually see people in the office anyway. But just to go through some of the changes. Like I said, hearing may decline, the energy, endurance, and all that is decreased. Muscles tend to get stiff. That's the best way to put it. So they're not as
Subtle.
as strong. They don't work as hard. The liver, because of circulatory changes, the liver's not getting as much blood as it used to. Which we don't often think of our liver, but that's what's detoxifying some of these drugs you're taking. So if the liver's not functioning well, you could have a buildup of some medications which can cause other problems. Kidneys, again, don't filter as well. It can be a problem with medications. But one of the concerns with kidneys not working so well, when they get to the point where they don't work, dialysis is probably the next step. With a year of life left, Mary needs to decide whether she would consider dialysis. People say they feel better after a treatment, but the treatment is several hours, several times a week, being hooked up to a machine, coming home, being tired, maybe a little dizzy because they strained a lot of fluid off, itchy skin, some nausea. So it's not a walk in the park. She's got to decide, will she consider dialysis if her kidneys fail? Bones become more porous.
and more prone to breaking. So fall, that 20 years ago was no problem. Now it could cause a major fracture. The digestive system, there's decreased acid, a decreased, tend to have less fluid on board, causes problems like constipation. Appetite in that last year becomes decreased. Something to think about. If she's near the end, would she want to be tooth fed? I'm seeing heads nodding already. It's a consideration. As a caregiver, it makes us feel good to see somebody have to take a good meal. But as the person who's not eating, I'm sure there's been times you haven't felt like eating, but you force yourself. Maybe with a stomach bug, you force yourself to eat so you get better. It doesn't feel so good. So, would you want to consider tube feeding? And along with that, if she's not taking in much, would you want artificial hydration, intravenous or subcutaneous fluids? Okay, where are we? Right, respiratory. Like everything else, the lungs aren't as elastic as they used to be, so they're not working as hard. Decreased lung volume, and it takes more effort to breathe. When that effort becomes, or if the lungs stop functioning, if she stops breathing, would she want to have be put on a respirator? There's that level. Then there's the machines that people use, CPAP, that they use for
Sleep apnea.
sleep apnea. Thank you. There was a contraption that fits over your nose that would force air in to assist the breathing, or nothing. Okay, cardiovascular system. The heart's a muscle, like the rest of the muscle. It's beginning to fail. It's not working efficiently. Maybe it has wonky rhythms. If her heart stops, would Mary want to have CPR? In that last year of life, Mary being frail, brittle, CPR, it has problems. It saves many lives. The last statistic I saw was 45% of people who have CPR in the community survive, but only half the people who have heart attacks have CPR. So it's maybe a quarter of them survive, and that includes the 40 and 50-year-olds. At 90, her chances of survival are minimal. And CPR most likely is going to cause broken ribs with the potential of puncturing some organs. So if her heart were to stop, does she want to leave it stopped, or does she want aggressive measures to try to restart it? Okay, next picture. Okay, I just put this one there to remind me. Another consideration too is if during that last year, if Mary were to find a breast lump, is she going to consider some major surgery to have that taken care of? Or potentially chemotherapy, or not? What can you do? This is just repetition of stuff you've probably heard a couple hundred times, but good diet. Variety of foods, lots of vegetables, exercise. I don't know that I would see Mary doing this. Sitting in a chair, doing a couple leg exercises, raising your arms. If we can get her doing that, great. Social, being social around people. This picture has two advantages. it's got the social interaction, and they're doing it over food. You know, she's got somebody to eat with, more likely to eat better. And cognitive stimulation, you know, keeping the brain cells going. Try a new thing. Maybe try painting. If you always wanted to paint or draw, try it. Learn a new language. Do puzzles. Something to keep the brain moving. And I just said,
Excuse me, there is a new form, I don't know how new it is, to make all that out so your family and your doctor,
We're going to talk,
Dr.
and we're going to
Akkad-
talk about that one.
you
Yeah.
are, okay.
Yeah.
yes, and one.
And I wanted Sarah to now talk about kind of how she would help a person deal with all of those things. I just wanted to mention one thing. We're talking about that last year. So this program in many ways was designed as a tribute to my old partner David Gabowitz, who some of you folks may have known, who was an attorney in Marlboro, who was blessed, he said, with the fact that he was told by his doctor that he had cancer and that it was permanent and it couldn't be cured, and he had 6 months to a year to live, right? And so he paid attention to all of this stuff. He just lived his life to the end, you know. He just kind of, and he was looking to have the kind of full life that you're talking about, which is really important. Sarah.
And this stuff is not, it's not always pleasant to think about. But look at it as, it's not taking away hope. It might be changing what you're hoping for, but it's not taking away your hope.
Oh, and I was just going to add one other thing. The other thing, though, that was actually emphasized in the book is, and I see the part about the fruits and vegetables, but there's a point. If it's the last year of your life, you can eat cake, you know? You can have the ice cream. It's like okay at this point, you know? It's like, remember all the old westerns where the guy had his last meal? You get a year's worth of last meals. They can all be like really terrific, you know?
Can I start that now? I'm ready.
Enjoy.
Are we working? Oh, I was going to do that myself. Look at this. This person does everything. She's just going to go right to your slide.
So while she's working on that, because I actually usually don't even use the slide.
There we go. I think
Okay, this part of the slide we
one
can
more.
do.
There.
Yeah, this is actually a lot of what I'd be doing earlier in the earlier 90s, not with that last year of life.
Well, then I'll just go back to your ad. There you
So
go.
there's our ad. That works. So Mary now knows last year of life, or maybe she doesn't quite know. One of the things that I have found is that often there are doctors, and I think geriatricians are a whole different ballgame. Palliative care doctors are a whole different ballgame. But a lot of doctors are really, you know, they're bound and determined that they are going to keep you alive as long as possible, do as much testing, as much treatment as possible, for as long as they have a new thing up their sleeve to try. But my job is to make sure that Mary knows that she doesn't have to live that way, that she has choices, and to make her really understand, or help her really understand what her choices are. So while I'm in the doctor's office with Mary and he's saying, oh, you found a breast lump, look, no problem, we'll have you do a surgery and then you'll be good as new. Part of my job is with Mary there is to be asking, what if she doesn't do that? What's that going to look like? What is the recovery going to look like? Is there going to be more than just the surgery? What will that look like? How is that going to affect Mary's life? So my job, especially as we're getting toward the last year of life, is to really be listening to Mary, to know her well, to know what's important. Ruth talked about things like decisions about feeding tubes. You know, is she going to want to feed tube? Well, I love to eat. Sitting down, eating food, enjoying it. A feeding tube wouldn't work for me. There are people in my family, food is not so important, they just want to stay healthy and have energy. They might choose a feeding tube. Everybody's different. So again, part of my work is having that conversation, really trying to understand. And helping Mary also begin the conversation with Peter, Paul, Mary Jr. Maybe giving them the sense that maybe this is the time that you want to come a little bit more often. Mary probably isn't going to say that because she doesn't want to bother her kids, and they're busy and they work. But it might be a time for me to help communicate what's going on in the doctor's office. I know with my parents, I get on the phone, my dad's been at the doctor, and he says everything's fine. I get my mom on the doctor, and she has a list of 10 things he's supposed to be doing that the doctor's worried about. So I communicate with the kids so that they really know where Mary is and what's going on, not what Mary wants them to know. Of course, I do that with Mary's permission. I never give information. And it might be the time that I might introduce the concept of hospice. Hospice is not as it was originally, or as people think of it, as a place that you go to die. Hospice is a service. They come into wherever you live, they provide you extra support. Their focus is on your comfort and your quality of life and helping you meet your goals. So for example, a hospice goal might be, I don't really want to go to the hospital again. I'm tired of going to the hospital every time I fall. So hospice is going to do all kinds of things to try and support you. One, so you don't fall, but so if you do fall, they can come in and they can assess you and say, you know what, nothing's broken, we're not going to do anything anyway. Even if something is broken, we're going to change the chair, we'll change the bed, we'll give you extra services, we'll give you extra medication to manage the pain. But they really are working with you to make the quality of life better at the end of your life. And I would be supporting hospice, coordinating care, making sure that they know what your needs are, making sure you have supplies you need if they don't supply those things, that sort of thing. Doug, it's nice to
That's it. Doug is going to come next. I'm just going to mention one thing, just regarding the hospice. After you. So in the book, right, in Katie Butler's book, I remember seeing this statistic that while 80% of people say they want to die at home, only about 25% of people actually die at home. Those people die in a hospital or in a nursing home. But I was talking to a person recently who was in one of these hospice programs who said that's only in New England. That's only in New England. In other parts of the country, in some parts of the country, most people still die at home. I do a lot of work on Martha's Vineyard in Nantucket. On both of those islands, most people die at home. It's, for some reason, it's like we've gotten into this habit here. I think it's because there's so many hospitals, right? And all these great rocket science doctors that you just assume that you need to be like in the hospital, right? So I'm just kind of mentioning it because I thought the statistic was really interesting.
They have the money in those two places.
Well,
Pay
you know,
for home.
maybe it's money, but you know, in general, a lot of more people die at home in other parts of the country than here. But now Doug really wants to talk about some of these very issues. Doug,
I do.
here you go.
I do learn. I got to get to my slides.
Whoops. There you are.
Yeah, thank you. So this is a real scenario for me because I've been working in a healthcare company that does home care for a little over 8 years. And Mary, to me, is very real because she represents a lot of the types of people that we see. They're alone now. They're probably not with a partner, and they struggle with these kind of questions. I'm not going to talk about anything medical because I'm not a doctor. But I will say one more thing about hospice that you should know. It's free. It's paid for by Medicare. So it doesn't cost you anything. They will bring in a hospital bed to your house for free. They'll bring in incontinence supplies for free. They'll bring in nurses that if you need palliative care, that will give you medicine so you're pain-free for free. So it's not, talk about saving money. It's a wonderful program. And the people that do it have really the biggest hearts, and a lot of people are volunteers. That's all I will say about hospice. I just think I'm a big believer in it.
Is that just for
Mary's other
cancer?
goal right now is to sort of make the best of the current situation she is in. She still wants to live at a quality of life, and there's all these medical decisions to make, etc. But there are other decisions too. The one thing that you can hold on to is she still is in control control of some things. She really still can control the quality of life by making the right type of medical decisions if she's thought about them beforehand and expressed the wishes beforehand. So picking someone, particularly if it's going to be involve a serious illness, who you choose for your healthcare proxy is very important. It's important because it goes even beyond that person having say in your medical decisions. Because once a healthcare proxy has been put into effect, and Arthur can correct me if I'm wrong, the doctor says you are no longer fit to make these decisions yourself, she gets to make all of your decisions. He or she gets to make all of your decisions. So that's why it's so important to be thinking about it. But I just want to tell you a little bit today about what else you can be thinking about. So one is to think about the medical stuff first. But do you want life support or not? What does that mean? So you need to be talking to your doctor or a nurse practitioner or even your care manager about what does that really look like? What does aggressive treatment mean? What does basic treatment mean? You need to have a clear picture of what could possibly happen so you can make an educated decision. It's really important to bring up these things with your doctor. Our caregivers are seniors themselves. A lot of time, they're a good fit with other seniors because they have gone through this sometimes a number of times with either other clients of theirs or with family members. And it's someone to talk to because it's hard to make these decisions by yourself. And it's also awkward to have sometimes these conversations with your kids because they don't want to talk about it. They're not going to sit down and really discuss it. But to have some type of a trusted advisor or just someone who's a friend that you can think out loud with, I think is really important. Because now when you do talk to your kids, you'll have sort of practice it with somebody. You'll have a chance to say, somebody will say, well, you may not want to say it just like that. Think about saying it like this. So it's just really helpful, I think, to do that. But it's more than just medical, as I said. So one of these things is, I want to be comfortable. And that for me means I want to have, you're either at home or you're in a facility. I want to be bathed every day. I want to have clean sheets every day. I want to be clean all the time. My mother, before she passed away, she was in a skilled nursing facility, but she was always, like a lot of you are, of the generation where, she had earrings on every day. She didn't lounge around the house. She always dressed up. She had makeup put on. She had her nails done. She had a permanent every week. So taking care of her, we still kept doing that because we know that's what she wanted. And it made her feel good, even though she was still, we knew she had dementia, and she was getting frailer all the time. It was still important for her when she had people come in to see her that she looked nice. So, but that's your wish. You can control that by letting somebody know, the person you've designated as your proxy, what it is that you want. Even things like that. I want my favorite music clip. I love Frank Sinatra. I want to hear Frank Sinatra all the time, whatever it might be. So before I forget, I have some cards out here. Unfortunately, you can't take them, but you can look at them afterwards. It's called the Go Wish Game. And what it is, it's a really easy game that you can play with yourself. And these cards do things like say things. What's important to me is to have someone who will listen to me. And so you put this in a pile that says this is really important, or it's so just kind of important, or it's not important at all. To have a nurse I feel comfortable with. To have my financial affairs in order. So there's all these other suggestions for you to think about. So you don't necessarily have to just think of all these things, for yourself. How do you want to be treated? Some people, when they're in the hospital or at home and are sick, don't want to see anybody. I just don't want to see them right now. Others say, I want to see all my friends. If I'm part of a faith community, I want them to come in and see me on a regular basis. If, you know, I want the pastor or the priest or the rabbi to come in on a regular basis. That's very important for some people. But you need to be thinking about things like that. Do you want to have that? Because if you really are sick and you're in bed and you're failing, it's not the time for you to tell your child or whoever's your proxy what it is you want. It's beforehand. I want to be cared with kindness and cheerfulness and not sadness. I don't want sad people around me. I want people that are going to help me sort of think about the good parts of my life. And that's very important for your attitude at these times. This, I mean, we all know how dysfunctional a lot of families are. I'm sure yours are. You know, people have dysfunctional families, believe it or not. So it may be that, you know, you're the kind of person that has not said, you know, I love you a lot to your kids or to your siblings who are around. But you want to let them know that, you know, you do love them. You know, you want them to be there. If you've had disagreements with people, you want to say, look, I want Uncle, you know, Ralph to come in and see me. My brother, we haven't spoken in 10 years, but I want to make amends. That's really important for some people, to sort of have that kind of healing at the end. But you need to think about that beforehand and express it. And then one of these things is, excuse me, I want memories of my life to give my family and friends joy and sorrow. So I don't want the traditional wake, you know, I want something that's really much more celebratory about my life. Again, thinking ahead. We all know this, you know, Mary, in this case, knows that it's coming at some point. And so why not take a little control about what it's going to be like at the end, how you want to be remembered, and sort of the legacy that you want to leave. So these are some of the resources that are out there for you. They're in the handout that you got. It's a good place to start. I took some of these from the 5 Wishes. It's a program where you can actually fill it out. It's honored in Massachusetts, and honoring choices, again, will help you think about these things a little bit. But I say, you know, the medical stuff is one thing, but these are other parts of it that are just really, for me, equally important. So thank you.
Thank you. And as I say, this is the point of this program, is that there are a whole lot of things that you need to be thinking about, right? And that's the book, The Art of Dying Well, Katie Butler. Now I'm just going to mention 2 legal things before I do that. There aren't a lot of legal things, but if you're married and you're approaching the end of your life, a couple of things. First of all, as was mentioned, you may want to change your MOLS form. MOLS form is the form signed by your doctor, because it's really a doctor's order to people farther down the medical food chain, saying, here are some things that we don't want you to do, that you would normally do if it were an emergency. We don't want you to try to get this person's heart to start again if their heart stops, or resuscitation. We don't want you to stick a tube down their throat to make them breathe if their breathing has stopped. If they're at home, we don't want you to bring them to, if the EMT shows up at the house, we don't want you to bring them to the hospital. I don't want to go to the hospital. I don't want to die in the hospital, which means if I'm on the ground and the EMT shows up, I don't want you to bring me to the hospital, right? I want to stay in my house. So it's a point in your life where you may really want to revisit that MOLS form. Second, as a legal, in general rule, if you're getting to that point in your life, don't you call your lawyer, you're not going to feel like it. But the person you've named in your power of attorney, have them call your lawyer to see if there's anything else you should be doing. And I'll give you the classic example. Suppose you're one of those people who decided you wanted to keep control of your assets. You didn't want to give them away to your kids. You didn't want to go through the cost of doing a revocable and amendable trust. You didn't want to do these things. And as a result of that, when you die, there are some assets, probably your house, that is going to have to go through the probate process. And there may be some bank accounts that are going to have to go through the probate process, which means your kids are going to have to kill at least a year and spend legal fees on doing that. The alternative to that, if you've given someone your power of attorney, is to tell that person ahead of time, look, Mary Jr. or Peter or Paul, you've got my power of attorney. If it looks like I'm about to die, soon, not necessarily tomorrow, but soon, right? Use the power of attorney. Go to the bank, close out the account, divide up the money, sign a deed on my behalf, deed the property to the kids. That's what my will says we want to do. Just go asset by asset. If by doing that, your person with your power of attorney can literally eliminate the need for probate for those kids after you die. And they can take care of it all at the end. Not after the end, can't wait till after you die, right? But before the end. As long as your person knows what you want. So it's kind of the legal version of the healthcare proxy. The goal is not just to have a healthcare proxy, but to have the person who's got it know all the things that Doug talked about how you'd want to be treated so that if you can't say it, they can take care of it. Same thing on the legal side. The goal is not just to have a power of attorney, but to have told the person you've named who they are, and also maybe to give them some instructions regarding how you want things to be taken care of before you die.
Could you name all those things? Take the D out of the kid's name. What are the other things?
Well, you're going to look asset by asset. You're going to say, will this asset end up in probate? If not, how do I figure out how to get it out of probate? That's why I'm saying, talk to your lawyer, or have the person you've named in your power of attorney talk to your lawyer and say, how can we avoid probate? This stuff can all get done at the last minute. Not after the last minute, but up until the last. I've literally transferred real estate on people's behalf when they're like dying, they died a couple hours later, you know. You can do all of this stuff. So, if you want to see this again, you can always go to Frank and Mary's YouTube channel, Elder Law Frank and Mary, or you can watch this on Hudson Cable. Thank you very much to Hudson Cable for being kind enough to take these shows and rebroadcast them. Could I have a round of applause for my wonderful guests? I really love this program. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful holiday, and we'll see you next year. Thank you.